Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. So in this channel I'll discuss on how to prepare for your driving exam in Sweden, and then how to achieve like 80% of the results with only 20% of the effort, and also the important things that you need to keep in mind for your exam, and then some useful tips that can help you pass your driving exam. My name is Chiru. I have passed my driving exam last year in August, and I passed both theory and practical exam in my first attempt. And just a disclaimer, I didn't have any previous driving experience from any country, so it's entirely I started from scratch here, and I cleared it in my first attempt. And I believe if I can do it, then you can also do it. But there are some things that will be good to know while I was driving. I felt like maybe if these are the things, if I had known earlier, then it would have been much easier for me. So those are the things I would like to share with you, and in these videos I'll be focusing entirely on the practical driving exam. For the theory, I'll make a separate video depending upon like if you really need it. So if you want a video on theory exam, then please feel free to comment, and then I'll make the video accordingly. Yeah, and I'll also put a separate video regarding my driving journey, like how I started, how many number of classes I took, and how did I plan my driving and all. But that will be a separate video. But in this video, we'll be just focusing on what are the most important things that we need to pass our practical driving exams. Let's talk about the 5 most important things that you need to know before giving your practical exam. So first thing is expectation. So I'll elaborate about these points later in the video. So so the first point is expectation from you, and the next would be the grading system. Like how is the exam? How do they decide if you have passed or if you have failed? So they have a system in place, and I'll just give a brief overview of how the system works, and then a bit of knowledge about the exam. Yeah. So we'll discuss on everything that can be asked during the exam. What are the routes that you need to cover, and what will be like and in those directions. So that we'll cover in knowledge, and then clarity. So clarity is more like knowing the routes. Like if you choose a particular location, then you need to know the routes. What are the routes that can be that you might have to drive during the exam. So I'd categorize this as clarity. And then the last one would be tips, some useful tips that really help me, and I hope that will really help you. So let's start our first segment. It's the expectation. So in this segment, I'll talk about what is the examiner exactly expecting from you. So when you are appearing for your exam, there are some expectations from the examiner. So if you have a clarity on what they are expecting from you, then it will be easier for you to plan accordingly, and then hopefully clear your driving exam. So first thing is I'll start with the expectation. So first thing is safety. In Sweden, as a rule of thumb, the first thing they look for is safety. So safety is the highest priority. So everything else comes after safety. So if you see Sweden has the least number of accidents in the world, and so on. So why does it happen? Because it's not just the roads that are safe, it's also the drivers that are safe. So how do they decide the safe drivers? So this is the exam that decides how safe a driver you are. So whenever you are appearing for the exam, keep in mind the first thing, the most important thing is to convince the examiner that you are a safe driver. So once the examiner is convinced that you are a safe driver, then it will be very easy for you to clear your exam. So second one is perfection or skill. So during the exam, they don't expect you to be perfect. Yes, they don't expect you to be perfect or skillful. So let's say, for example, you are not able to park in a street. There was car was a bit bent. That is perfectly okay as long as the 4 wheels are inside the lines. So that would be treated as pass. So that means they don't expect you to be perfectly ready and like that. So and skill. So I have heard many scenarios where people have been driving like 15-20 years in their home countries, and then here they are like failing and they are failing multiple times, and they have to give 2-3 attempts. So why is that? So if skill was the question in the exam, then of course these the people, the experienced drivers should pass in the first attempt, but they don't. So keep in mind, perfection or skill is not something they are looking for. So don't focus and don't get worried if you're not able to park perfectly, or if you're not as skillful as someone else while you're practicing your driving. So don't so these are the things that you don't have to worry. The only thing that you have to do is, yes, whatever is asked, you are supposed to do it. You don't have to do it perfectly, but in everything that you do, you should be able to do it in a very safe manner. So that is the first and foremost thing. And you should be able to do all the safety checks. By safety checks, I don't mean the safety checks that happens before the exam. It's the safety checks whenever you are maneuvering. So whenever you are changing a lane, are you checking the blind spot? Whenever you are taking a turn, are you checking the front mirror, side mirror, and then blind spot? So there is a sequence. You are supposed to do all these things. So these safety checks is something they'll keenly observe. So that is something very, very important to keep in mind. And then they don't expect that you won't make any mistakes during the exam. So they expect that you will make mistakes, but those mistakes should be acceptable. It should not be like a severe mistake that violates a road sign, a rule, or it imposes risk to other road users. So those kind of mistakes you'll get failed. So mistakes, if they are small, then it should be okay. They you can still pass if you make a small mistake. So I'll cover these things in the next phase of the grading system, so it will be easier for you to understand. So in the grading system, I'll talk about how exactly are they deciding like you have failed or you have passed. So you might be hearing about scenarios where people have made one mistake and then they have failed, and there are people who made like 3 or 4 mistakes in the exam and still they pass. So I am an example. So I made at least, I would say, 3 to 4 mistakes during the exam, but still I passed. So how come I can pass and people who make just one mistake, they fail? So the basis of entire like how they decide is based on a grading system. So I'll give a brief overview of it, and then we can understand, like then we can plan our driving accordingly so that we don't make any mistakes that are severe. So let's take an example. There is an exam where you have 100 marks, and then and the pass mark is, let's say, 85. So in that case, and then you have 3 questions that are 20 marks each, 2 questions that are 10 marks each, and 5 questions that are 4 marks each. So if you add up everything, it's 100 marks. So let's say you're not able to answer one question of 20 marks. So in that case, you're only attempting 80 marks. So in that case, you are a failed. So it's just one question you left, but still you have failed. Similarly, if you left a question that is of 10 marks, so in that case, still you are attempting 90 marks. So if you manage to clear all the 90 marks, then still you pass. So here you are leaving one question, but still you are passing because that question has less weightage. Similarly, if it comes to 5 questions, five questions of 4 marks each. So here, if you leave 3 questions, still you have like 88 marks that you can score, which you will pass. So in that case, it's like you have, even if you left 3 questions, still you are passing the exam. So because the question that you left doesn't have much weightage. Similarly, if we take the same example in the exam, so they have something called severe mistakes, and something called moderate mistakes, and something called a low or a negligible mistake. So severe mistakes are like 20 mark questions. So if you make one severe mistake, you fail the exam. So it's very, very clear. So make sure you don't make even a single severe mistake. For example, let's say, what is a severe mistake? So severe mistake, it could be many things, but one example is like let's say, for example, there was a traffic sign or a stop line, and you did not stop within that line, you crossed that line, or there was a red and then you were at a speed, you couldn't stop, and then you moved forward. So these are the things that will be treated as severe, and you will fail your exam. So very, very important, don't make severe mistakes. So whenever you see that there is a yellow light in front of you at the traffic signal, then always Always yellow is red in exam. So if you see yellow, just stop it. Don't worry about crossing it. Now don't take the chance. And stop lines and all, be very careful. And give way also, you should be very careful of showing your intention of giving way. It's not like you go at a speed and then suddenly you brake. It shouldn't be the case. So if there is a roundabout coming ahead, then plan it in such a way that the other road users should be able to understand that you are giving way. So this is an example of a severe mistake. So make sure in the exam don't make severe mistakes. And then blind spot is a very important thing. Why? Because if you are on a highway and if you don't check the blind spot, then more likely you'll end up in an accident for the blind spot, but not with the mirror. Because if you check the side mirror, they will show the vehicles that are far away. So even if you join the lane, still they are far away, so they'll be able to plan. But if you don't see a vehicle that is in your blind spot and then you change the lane, then the vehicle that is in your blind spot, they don't have time to change the lane or avoid an accident. So blind spot are very crucial. So whenever you are practicing your driving, make sure you are going through the blind spot again and again. One quick tip here which can help you to not miss your blind spot. So whenever you are driving, always make it as a rule to speak out whatever you are doing. So for example, when you are taking a left turn, so just say mirror blind spot. So first mirror would be the rear view mirror, and the second mirror would be the side mirror, and then the blind spot would be the blind spot. So always keep repeating, okay, whenever you're taking a turn, mirror blind spot. Whenever you're changing a lane, mirror blind spot. And whenever you say it, just do as you say. So that will be very helpful to build your muscle memory. So next time, whenever even if you don't say it, it will be like in your muscle memory, and you'll definitely do it. So that is one tip which you can definitely use. And low mistakes. One example of a moderate mistake which I did in my exam is like I merged in a lane too early. So actually the expectation was whenever I exited a roundabout, there were two lanes that were merging, and then these lanes were again merging into the highway. So what I did is the highway is 100 kilometer road. So 100 kilometer per hour road. So what I thought is like whenever I exit the roundabout, I just checked the blind spot. There was no vehicle from the other lane that is merging. So I just thought maybe it's better I merge and then I increase the speed to 100. But that's wrong, because suddenly any vehicle may come. But still I did a safety check. So that's why I was excused for it. So but ideally what should I have done is I increased the speed to 100 and then merged the lane. So that is very important. And then and then I would like to briefly explain about the low category mistakes, which are 4-mark questions. So if you make 2 moderate mistakes, still they can accept you for the for passing your exam. But more than 2, then maybe it's again there are chances you may fail. So try to keep your moderate mistakes less than 3 as a rule of thumb. And then low mistakes, so categorized as low. So those are not very significant. So even those mistakes don't affect the road users, don't pose danger to anybody, and so on. For example, during my exam, the examiner asked me to switch on the rear wiper, but it was a different car model. So I was having hard time to find out the wiper. Then he helped me out, okay, this is the button you need to do. So it was a mistake, but still I was excused, because it is not a severe or a moderate mistake. It's a very small one. So that it once you know that it is there, so next time whenever you move that you start that vehicle, you know that this is the wiper. So we'll talk about the third segment, knowledge about the exam. So what do I mean by knowledge about the exam? So this is a very important segment. So you need to know what all will you be asked to do during the practical exam, what are all the possibilities. So if you don't have an idea of what you will have to do in the exam, then more likely it will be something unknown coming, and then you are already nervous, and then you may fail. So it's good to have a good idea of what all you will be asked to do during the exam. So I'll give a brief list of what all you will definitely be asked. So first is roundabouts. In Sweden driving exam, there will be minimum 2 or 3 roundabouts. So roundabouts are something you need to practice very carefully. So in roundabouts, what will they see is, first thing is, whenever you enter a roundabout, you should be like you have a give way, so you should not interfere with the users that are already on the roundabout. So that is the most important thing. And the second most important thing is, whenever you are exiting a roundabout, you have to indicate. Very important. And then the third and the most important thing in a roundabout is they will ask you to do a left turn. So left turn is in a roundabout is not as simple as a right turn or a straight ahead. So in the left turn, what more often than not, what you have to do is, if it is a multi-lane roundabout, so you have to take the inner lane and then enter the roundabout, and then in just before exiting, you have to do a lane change and then exit from the rightmost lane. So here, when you do the lane change, they'll check whether you have checked the blind spot, mirror blind spot basically. So you're supposed to do that. So left turn on a roundabout, very important. And then roads. So you will be asked to drive on various types of roads, mostly they'll definitely ask is like a priority road or a main road, whatever you can say. So it's the road that is indicated by a diamond sign. So there you have priority over the other people who are joining the road. So you'll be asked to drive on a priority road. And then a highway, the expressway. So you'll be asked to drive on a expressway. And then residential area. So you will be asked to drive on a 30-kilometer residential area road. So here, what they primarily check for is the speed and the right hand rule. So if you're on a 30-kilometer road, never forget the right hand rule. So even if you like, if there are no vehicles for this right hand rule, you can speak out. You can say during the exam that, okay, there is nothing coming from the right hand, so I can go, so that the examiner is aware that you know the right hand rule. And then on a 30-kilometer residential road, very important, you should never cross the speed by 1 kilometer. So for 30 road, if you drive at 31 even once, you will fail. Why? Because in a residential road, there will be people, the expectation is people will be there on the road at any point of time. So whenever you are driving on that road, you should be very careful not to exceed the speed limit. So whenever you are driving below 30, then you know, right, the braking distance will be less and you will have quick time to react. So that's why on a residential road or a 30-kilometer road, as a rule of thumb, put your maximum limit to 25. So don't cross 25. So in that way, if you have a buffer, even if you cross 25, still it will be less than 30. So on a residential road, 25 is the limit for you. So and then country roads. So country roads are the most tricky ones. They are pretty much like an expressway, but then you will have like two lanes, like two opposite lanes. So here on a country road, if you are asked to drive, it's fine, you can drive. But the thing is, they may ask you to do a left turn on a country road, which is very tricky, because the speed will be around 70 km per hour, and then there will be a left turn coming ahead, and then you have to turn left without interfering the traffic behind you and the traffic that is in the opposite lane. So this is very important to practice before the exam. And more important is planning. So whenever you are ending up in this situation, it's important that you practice the country roads very well. Okay, more on country road left turn. The important thing is, whenever you're taking a left turn on a country road, you should not stop your car. So you should plan your driving as such that either you can slow down in advance, and you can brake well in advance to just inform the person behind you that you are planning for a left turn, so that they slow down, and then you don't obstruct them. So well ahead of your left turn, you can just tap the brake slightly, so that the back lights are there, and then the person behind you knows that you are planning for a left turn here. So that one. And then you can crawl, but you should not stop. So if the wheels are locked, then most likely you will fail. In some cases you may pass, but you can assume that you will fail if you stop the car in the road before the left turn. So plan your turn ahead, look at the rear view mirror, check the vehicles behind you, and also check the vehicles that are coming in the opposite lane, see the gaps, and then plan accordingly, and try to try to take the left turn in one go without actually stopping it. Yes, you can slow down, but you should not stop. And then you have U-turns. You will be asked to do U-turns. There are two types of U-turns. There is L beckoning and then T beckoning. So I'll talk about these things in future videos, but this video is more just an overview of what you will be asked to do. And then of course parking. So you will be asked to do a parking. There are three types of parking, so you will be asked to do any one of them, like the forward parking, the reverse parking, and the parallel parking. So I'll make a separate video on parking, and I'll show like what are the tips and tricks that you could do so that your parking goes well. And one more important point regarding parking: they don't expect you to park in one go. So if it takes you multiple times, that is fine, as long as you are doing everything in a safe manner. Even if you take multiple times to park your car correctly, it is fine. Yep. And then navigating to destination. So here in the navigating to destination, they'll just say, okay, take me to Arlanda, and then they won't give you any directions. So in that scenarios, you are supposed to check the road signs, and then try to understand which lane goes to Arlanda, and then you have to take the exit accordingly. So it is very important to have a clear idea of how to navigate on the road. So and then since in the exam day you'll be very nervous, it will be very difficult for you to like focus on the driving and also the road signs and all. So it's good that you prepare well in advance. If you have selected a location where you want to give your exam, then it's good to do a research on what are all the possible routes, what are the exits possible during the exam track. That will be useful if you prepare well in advance. And then railway tracks. Yeah. So if there is a railway track in the location where you want to plan your exam, then they may ask you to cross a railway track. So it's very important during crossing a railway track, you have to check both the directions, and then you have to pass quickly. So that is something they'll check. And then yeah, they will also check how you plan your driving. So that is part of eco driving. Even it's not like mandatory, but it's like if you do it, then you'll get good points. So if you're able to show the examiner that you have good planning, then even if you make a few mistakes, they can excuse you. So it's important. So in eco driving, what exactly is eco driving is that the core of eco driving is that you should try to avoid unnecessary braking. How? Let's say there is a signal approaching ahead of you, and then you see that the signal is already red. So in that case, what you will do is you won't if you're at 50 km/h, then you slow down your speed in advance. Why? Because if it is red, then eventually it will turn green in some time. So meanwhile, so until you reach to that signal, and if it turns green, and then you don't have to stop your car, and you can just move forward. So that would be a very good point, saying that okay, you have planned your driving well. So those things they'll definitely see. Also in the roundabouts, this is not a mandatory thing, but in the roundabouts it's like you have to give way. But if you can plan your driving properly, then probably you don't have to stop. You can just find the exact gap, and then just just take your car in the same gap. But for that you need planning. So you have to see the cars that are in the roundabout well ahead, and then plan for a gap, and then try to target it. But again, this is not a must have. This is like nice to have, because in this effort, if you're trying to do this, and then in any scenario, if there is some safety part of it missing, then you may fail. So if you can do, then definitely you can plan everything. But if you can't do, then important is safety. So first, if you have done taken all the safety measures and stopped your car, that is fine. But if you did not take any safety measures, and you try to show them give way without stopping your car, then you may fail. So always remember, safety comes first, then anything else. Safety. Okay, now I'll talk about clarity. So what do I mean by clarity? So clarity means before the exam, if you know what route you will be taken to, and if you know what are all the possible like roads or possible exits that can happen, and if you know what are the speed limits on those roads, then 80% of your work is already done. And for these things, you don't have to drive the car. You can use Google Street Maps, and then just check the lanes, just check the exits, and just check the speed limits and try to remember them. So very important. So I believe like 60% of the work you can do from home. You don't need a car to drive. 60% of the work is more like trying to remember the rules, trying to know the roads, trying to like memorize the safety measures and all. So what you can do is what I did is I stick to one location. So I did not. So for me, the exam location, let's say my exam location is Jarfala, so I stick to Jarfala. So if even if I fail in my first attempt, I'll again in the second attempt I'll again go to Jarfala. So that is important, because if you're familiar with the location, familiar with the roads, then even if you're nervous, your muscle you will have that thing in the back of your mind. So you will have that memory, and that will help you during the exam. And then so first thing is stick to a location, and then second thing is do a research. Find all the possible routes. So how can you find the possible routes that will be asked during the exam? Very simple. There are some Facebook groups and all where people share their experience, what were the route they took and all, so on. So try to find those messages where they mentioned about the routes, and try to find what are all the possible routes that were asked during the exam. So that's how I found all the possible routes when I appeared for the exam beforehand. I know what were all the possible routes they can ask for, and I practiced on the real tracks all the time. And then so the route was entirely on my head. So I in the back of my mind I knew the routes. So that helped me, that even if I was very nervous during the exam, but still I had a confidence that since I know the routes, it's no problem, I can manage. And then very important, you should practice on the real tracks. So if you're taking classes from driving school or a private instructor or wherever, it's very important, like at least 50% of your classes should be on the real road. Because if you practice on a road that you won't actually drive on the real exam, then there is no point. Because on the real exam, if you drive on a completely unknown road, then it will be very tricky. So it's good, always just do your research, find all the possible routes, and then ask your instructor or the driving school instructor, whoever it is. Just ask them that I want to practice on the real track. And then I hope they'll accept it, and they'll teach you in the real track. And if they don't know the real track, you can tell them this is the track that I want to learn. So at least as a rule of thumb, before giving the practical exam, you should have driven on the real track for at least 5 times or more. It depends upon how many classes you are taking. So once you go through this, it will be very easy for you during the exam, trust me. And then, like I already mentioned, you can use Google Street View. So if you don't have a car, and if you don't have the budget to take many lessons, then you can always go to the Google Street View and find the location in the map. And then in the Street View you can see all the roads, the road signs, the exits, the speed limits, everything is available on Google Street View. So it's a very nice tool. If you want, I can make a video explicitly for the Google Street View, but it depends upon if you want that video, then you can let me know in the comments, and I'll create a video for it. And in the last segment, I'll talk about the shortcuts. So shortcuts doesn't mean it's like you're breaking any rule or something. No, it's more like what you can do to like handle the tense situation during the exam. So first thing that helped me, I can just give my example. It may work, you may not work for you, but since I was driving for the first time, and I was very nervous, and I did not have any background driving from any other countries. I didn't have any experience, so that's why I was very nervous. So what I did is I memorized the speed limits, and trust me, it really helped me during the exam. So I know exactly what is the speed limit on each road. So from my exam location, if I have to go to a highway, what is the speed at which it has to merge, and what is the speed at which it has to exit from a particular exit number. So these are things that were completely in the back of my mind. And it happened that during the exam I was so nervous that I had to exit from a highway, and I totally forgot to see the speed limit. But since I have been practicing there for some time, So I knew the exact speed limit on that road. So even if I did not see it, I just said it loud, okay, now we are entering a road of 50 kilometer per hour. So that is something which can help you out during the exam. And then maybe, I don't know, you may get points for it, or you may not get points for it, but it's a good practice. At least what I did is, during the exam I was saying out whatever I was doing. So that way the examiner at least gets to know, okay, what is what that I know the rules. So let's say there was a turn, and I forgot to check the side mirror, but still I was saying mirror, mirror, blind spot. So that way what happens is, okay, they know that this guy knows the sequence, like what are the checks he needs to do. So if you can uh, uh, if the instructor gets that confidence in you, then even if you make some small mistakes, you can pass. So that is important. So the most and the most important thing is the first 15 minutes of your exam. So the first 15 minutes of your exam will decide what will happen. At least 60 to 70% of the times it will decide whether you passed or failed. So in the first 15 minutes, make sure you're very calm, you're not nervous, and then even if you make a mistake, you come out of it. You don't keep that at the back of your mind. So if you have made a mistake, then you can just let it go, and then just finish the driving test, and then you just don't worry about the result. So I can give one example that happened during my exam. So when I was just exiting out of the traffic circuit, so immediately there was a big vehicle coming inside that lane. So I completely missed that. So I was so nervous, I completely missed that. So and they were supposed to enter before me. So since I already moved forward, then I realized, okay, there is a vehicle that wants to turn in. So then I did not panic. What I did is, I just did a 360 check before turning back. So check from this blind spot and then back, and then this blind spot. I did a 360-degree check, and then I put it on reverse, and then slowly I moved back. So I was so very important, whenever you're backing, it's good to crawl, not no speed. So try to back at 5 kilometer per hour, or the slowest that you can. So I was just crawling back, and then I just went back, and then I allowed that vehicle to enter. So I was nervous, I made a mistake, but then I realized, okay, nothing to worry, just calm, and then I can come out of it. So that's what I did. And then the other vehicle entered, and then after that I moved out of the traffic circuit office. So it's very important to be calm. And when talking about being calm and holding your nerves, very important thing that helped me out is, like, I was just worried what will happen during the exam and all. So then I thought maybe a chewing gum would help me. Yeah, a chewing gum. So what I did is, I took a chewing gum, and I was chewing it during the entire exam. So that way I was kind of distracted. I was not thinking too much about the exam. So I was just trying to be cool. And then trust me, that really helped me, and I was able to pass my exam in my first attempt. So I hope these tips will help you out. So I'm planning to make more videos in future with more information on roads, and what are the roads and the blind spots and so on. So everything that I briefed here, I want to I can elaborate and make more videos in future. So if you found this video informative, helpful, then please feel free to encourage me. You can like the video, or share the video, or you can add your comments. If there is anything I missed, then please feel free to add your feedback. And I hope after this video you're a bit more confident about your exam, and you can and I hope whoever is giving the exam, good luck, and don't be nervous. Just try to follow the points that I said. Just keep them at the back of your mind, and I hope it will be really helpful, and you can pass your exam easily. Yep. So please consider subscribing this channel. There will be more videos coming soon, so that you're notified about it. Thanks a lot for listening to me, and hope you have a great day. Bye bye.